Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hello, everyone. Jackie Woodside here, your founder and host of the Conscious Living Podcast, Strategies to Live More Consciously with Time, Money, and Life. I love this notion about living consciously. I want to ask you, though, are you paying attention to what that means for you? It's become a buzzword, conscious living, living consciously, being awake and attuned. But I really want you to spend some time thinking about what it means to you. And I just appreciate you for being one of the people that listens to this podcast. Make sure you pop me a message if you've listened to this episode. Let me know what you thought, what your takeaways were, and of course, share it with your friends. One of the things I love about having this podcast is just all the really cool people that I get to meet by doing this podcast. And today's guest, Natalie Jobity, she and I, you were on? You were on something of mine a while ago, Natalie, or how did we?
No, I know my summit.
Oh, yeah, I was on your summit. Yes, that's what it was. It was so great to meet you. So let me introduce you. Natalie Jobity is known as the Brilliance Unveiler. She's an executive coach, speaker, best-selling author, and leadership elevation strategist. She also works with personal brands, being a personal brand architect. She specializes in guiding women to lead with poise and power. I thought that was just a really elegant phrase, leading with poise and power, helping women to magnify their leadership presence, mastering their communication, and elevating their personal brand. She has a wonderful new book out called It's Your Time to Shine, Girl. That's the kind of title that I like. She also has a couple of summits that she hosts, the Power Shift Summit, and also Limitless Leaders. I think that's the one that you and I met on, Natalie. So welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast. Anything you want to add to that? Anything you want to say about yourself so our listeners can get to know you a little bit more?
Sure. So thank you, Jackie, for having me on this amazing podcast. What do I want to say? So you brought up poise and power. And what I want to say about that is I have had my prior business was in image consulting, and I thought it was going to be my purpose. I thought it was going to be the thing. And for a good 7-8 years, that was my passion. That's where I left my corporate career, transitioned into entrepreneurship. And it was a pretty crazy idea at the time because it was a complete 180-degree pivot. But the reason why I talk about poise and power is because as an image consultant, of course, what I did a lot was image management, dressing for success, all these things, and about how we show up, how we let people see us, how we let people read us. And I do presentations around all this stuff. So the whole poise and power is about our presence. And that is something that I realized when that business ended. I had like, okay, that's over. I'm doing coaching, leadership, executive, career stuff. And for a long while, I kind of pushed it to the side. And let's say when I was writing the book, It's Your Time to Shine, Girl, God made me see that, Natalie, let's merge your brilliance together. They're not separate. So I'm more and more, I'm seeing the intersection of how we as women present ourselves, communication-wise, visually, non-verbally, emotionally, and how much it matters in terms of the impact we make. So I want to say that. And let's not say the images in my background, they're from my affirmation card deck called She Shines, that, everybody goes like, wow. I was like, yeah, they're just canvas prints of my, from my card deck. Yes, affirmation card deck that I love.
That's beautiful. And for people who are listening to this on Apple or Spotify and not seeing it on YouTube, there's beautiful images of women, African-American art, bold colors, and it's incredibly vibrant and filled with poise and presence. So I love that. Poise and power. So it's so great to be with you, Natalie. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about your views. A lot of your platform, you did the Limitless Leaders Summit, how you and I met. So just tell me, what does that mean to you? I mean, again, we throw around these phrases. I talk about living life consciously and you talk about limitless. What does it actually mean to be a limitless leader?
Yeah, great question, of course. So limitlessness is a word. Again, I get these little pings in my being, knowing about this is something that you just have to talk about, or you need to become an expert on. I'm not the expert, but basically, Limitless is about us embracing the magnitude of our capacity, our ability, our brilliance to the nth degree, so that we are truly thriving and being in the arena in the way that we are meant to show up and contribute to society, to the company, to the organization, to whatever we are. That is about being. So when we embrace this idea that I don't have to follow the narratives in my mind. So they're mental, physical limits we place on ourselves that we may be consciously unaware of, that we need to break free to see a whole new version of us that's possible to be present in our lane in a way that we probably have never even imagined before. But here's what I always say. There's a aspect of us, maybe from when we were a young girl, that knew something, but because of less experiences or traumas or conditioning or whatever, that moved way into the back. And you forgot who you were really meant to be. And I'm saying that in the times we're in, it is our time as women specifically to rise up, speak up, show up in our fullest, most highest expression. I like to say expression is a big word. I don't just mean visually. I mean energetically. I mean emotionally. I mean intellectually. We've got so much in us that has been tapped down, diminished, or denied, Jackie. And I see it. I've lived it out. I've been there. I'm still working through some of the stuff, y'all. So I'm not here. I'm not perfect. I'm not at the cream of the crop of it all, but I'm aware of it. And once we become aware, that's how we can start to transform, evolve, and change.
I love that. I love that. So, I mean, was everyone born limitless and then something happened and, life kind of beat us up and we got cautious and we got defensive and protected ourselves? Is that what you're, is that, do you go that far? 'Cause I don't know. Let me just tell you a little bit what I'm thinking, Nellie. So in a couple of weeks, I'm moving, every summer I move up to my hometown, and, it's a very, very small, very rural area. I say we grew up in a town so small that not only did you know everybody's name, but you knew the name of the dog that you saw walking down the street and what family it belonged to. That's how small the town I was that I grew up in. And when I go back there, a lot of my classmates, there was, 23 of us in my graduating class, very small, but a lot of them never left the area. Just kind of stayed in this very rural, somewhat provincial experience of life. And and weren't necessarily called to being limitless, if you will. So how do you see that, Natalie? Is it something that we're all called to, or maybe I have some projection of what limitless means that's not accurate? Maybe they are living a limitless life, even though it's, if you will, kind of geographically at least small. They haven't left this very small rural provincial area and still, kind of live in that same mindset, haven't expanded beyond that. But maybe that's my projection of what limitless means. So how do you address that?
Great context. So let's talk about the people who've never left their hometown, who are doing the same thing, being around the same people. What I would argue is that if you're in an environment where in the same environment for decades, around the same people, doing the same thing, you have not begun to tap into your limitlessness, honestly.
Okay, so we do kind of see that the same way.
Yeah.
Part of being limitless is being willing to face challenges, to take on, like, I was invited to, I think you know this, to go to Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates this winter by a man who's part of the royal family, by a sheikh from. And, I guess my initial reaction was like, who, me?
Why me? Yeah.
Right.
The limit. That's the mental limit.
My first thought was the limit. Right. Why me? Is this a good idea? Is this safe? Going off into a very different, not even just different country, but a very different culture than what we have here in the United States. And as you know, end of the story, I did go. It was extraordinary. So what you're saying is, people being able to see and then act on things that are maybe outside of what our limited mind might do.
Part of the first step in recognizing like how you've limited yourself is when you haven't begun to step outside your familiar comfort zone, whatever that looks like. So it's like we think of we're in front of an ocean, and we put a little toe in the water just to see how we feel, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, ooh, okay, then put my full foot, then put my whole leg, then put my body, like just to. So if we do not stretch, and stretching can be very uncomfortable, Jackie, as you and I know, because it's pushing us beyond the limits we have been in, to be in a zone that's unfamiliar, uncomfortable, could even be scary. But as Jackie's saying, when we allow ourselves to open our minds to what is possible on the other side of that challenge, that stretch, that endeavor that might be like, oh, I've never done that before, then we start to see what's possible from us, within us, to us. Like, let me give you an example. Oh gosh, I thought I had one and just dropped off my brain. So okay, I'll just be very, very transparent. So I'm a speaker. And it's not the most comfortable thing, because I love writing. I used to always say I'm a writer, not a speaker, for a long time, until again God showed me that now that you have a gift to be dynamic, and you're so passionate, and I'm passionate without trying, right? So long story short, but there are things about me. I have some physical limitations that make me say speaking in the morning, early part of the day, I am not. That's not where I need to be. I got a great big gig that was literally asking me to step outside that, I wouldn't even say comfort zone, not normal zone of Natalie doesn't speak before noon, or out in public before noon or whatever, to do 2 presentations at 8 and at 10. And so my limited self would have been like, heck no, I don't do that. I can't do that. I don't even interact with people much around that time. How can I be up on the stage speaking? And what I decided to do was, okay, God, here we go. I literally had no idea how I would be, because I have never been in a public setting at that time of the day, like that, where I'm the speaker, not even in the audience, right? So this was September. So I went, I got up there. I didn't sleep the night at all. So I was like, Lord, let's just see what's going to happen. Who am I going to be? How am I going to show up? Because I've insomnia things, whatever, all these things. So I'm like, am I going to be like this? I had no idea. I said yes and trusted and had faith and took that leap. And I did those 2 presentations like if it was normal. And it was like, okay, what just happened?
Wow.
And so for me, that is there are a number of layers to that story. One is, it was a little miracle. Trust and believe, because I know what I go through. God knows what I go through. That was a miracle. That was also a sign of I know my quote unquote physical limitations, but there are times I have to go past them to then again be very uncomfortable, to be present to, do you see what you're capable of when you're in it? Even though you physically don't do well, because you're in it, or what, I don't know. I can't even say what the things were that made me able to deliver the way I did for 2 presentations that morning, and have women coming up as usual and saying all these things to me. I'm like, I was like, they have no idea what just happened. But that's my point of, we have to get past the boundaries that we have defined for ourselves, again, mental or physical or energetic, that says, I can only go this far. I can only put my toe in the water, not my whole body. Whatever those real situations are for you listening, know that stretch is required if you want to become the more expanded, evolved version of you, where I always say, like, where you're flying like an eagle in the sky with no limits. You have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone and dance in the zone of unfamiliarity and discomfort, to get on the other side of, look at what I just was able to do or see or be.
Right. I love that. So, Natalie, a couple things I want to follow up on that you just said. First of all, I think the cold water analogy is really very apt, because facing your limitlessness, like walking into cold water, it's progressively more and more uncomfortable. All kinds of stuff goes on in your head that tells you why you shouldn't be doing this, that it's not a good idea. everything inside of you wants to turn around and walk the other way. You know, your mind is saying, no, 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 this isn't a good idea. And it takes something that, you know, the further you go into it, the more uncomfortable it can become until you've done it.
Right. And I was going to say, because as somebody who loves the ocean water, but hates cold ocean water,
Yeah.
it's like you got to go, until the body gets
Acclimated.
you know what I'm saying?
Acclimated, yeah.
Acclimated, thank you. Acclimated to it. And then it's like, oh, it doesn't even feel cool anymore.
Yeah.
I'm one with the ocean now. I can swim and feel okay because my body has gotten adapted to this new environment.
And that's pretty much how it goes. When we step into a new area where we previously had said no, our identity has to get adapted to a new environment. So I love that analogy. I thought that was brilliant. The second thing I want to pick up on, based on what you said just now, is you a couple of times mentioned God. So it sounds to me, listening and inferring from your speaking, that for you, limitless living has something to do also with spirituality or spiritual living. So walk me across that bridge.
So I do believe that to become almost limitless selves, we have to have faith.
Yeah.
So what I will say is I believe in God. I'm a Christian. So I believe in, and God is as the creator of all things, you know, the sovereign Lord. And I know with my faith that, yes, I am a human being with body and legs and arms and all this stuff, but there's also a spiritual aspect to me that is not seen or visible even to myself. And when I tap into the spirit in Natalie more, deeper, wider, I am able to have more capacity because it's not just my humanness that is in play. It's my spirituality as a spiritual being as well.
Yeah.
As somebody who has this the Holy Spirit in her, right? So for me, people have different faiths. I actually go into a whole sorry to say this quickly. There's something called courageous conversation in my community where Jews, Muslims, Christians, different Baha'i, whatever, come together to have interesting conversations about what it's like to just have different beliefs, but come together as one. Anyway, so we have different beliefs, but at the end of the day, whatever your faith might be, you have to trust and believe in that sovereignty above you so much that you can say, when you have that prompting, that knowing, that pull to do something that's totally scary, that's totally outside your comfort zone, that's totally like, I don't know, but trusting that you will get to the other side of it and be better off. Even though it may not look that way, Jackie and I know this, be better off because at the end of the day, it's happening for you. It's happening for the greater good. So until we allow ourselves to stretch and expand like a rubber bands are taught until we start to stretch and they're like, oh, look how far I can go. That's true with us as beings. When we tap into the spirituality inside of us, absolutely, Jackie. Without faith, I wouldn't be doing half the things I have done in my life. Because I can't just trust my human self, my physical human